Good morning guys, and welcome back to Damo Drives, bringing real reviews to real people and answering some of those questions other channels might not talk about. When it comes to buying a new car and a new family car, you want to make sure you make the right decision. It could be a very expensive mistake if you don't choose correctly. For me, I think there are 5 things you should take into account. One is the price, practicality, reliability, what's the car like to drive and be inside, and finally the look of the car. I think the 5th one's a bit of a difficult one because it's a bit subjective, but I've come down to Suzuki Worthing and they've got in this car. This is the brand new Suzuki S-Cross. They only got it in like a week ago. It's just been registered and I want to find out how many boxes this S-Cross is going to tick for me. Could it be your next family car? I'm going to head inside and speak to Brett, the sales manager, get the keys, and then we're going to have a good look around the car, go for a bit of a drive and answer some of these questions. So could the new 2022 S-Cross very well be your next car? What's it like behind the wheel then? Well, I'm going to split this into two sections. The first one is going to be the driving experience. The second is going to be more about the ergonomics of the car. I've headed down into Worthing Town Centre just after picking the car up, and we're going to see what it's like doing slow manoeuvres, bit of parking, you know, the very boring, sensible things that you're going to end up doing in a car, whether that's going shopping, picking the kids up because you are a taxi service, or going to school, visiting friends and family. We do very boring things in cars most of the time, and it needs to be able to do these things well, because that's why you're buying a car, isn't it? Now we've got a 1.4 booster jet engine in here, 127 brake horsepower, and there is a mild hybrid system integrated into the engine. So that's a very small 48 volt battery and a small electric motor. Now you don't need to charge this battery at all, it charges itself. It's not like a self-charging hybrid that means you could run say 15 or so miles just in electric power. This just aids when the petrol engine needs some help out, so it might be under hard acceleration, pulling away from the lights. And this is a good example. Once I drop down to 10 miles an hour, the petrol engine has cut out and the electric's kicked back in. Then when I pull away, petrol and electric, and then we carry on our journey. The reason for that, there's a few. It helps with fuel economy, and that is definitely a good thing. WLTP of 53 mpg, which I think is definitely a good thing. So less visits to the petrol station, your tax will be lower, road tax. If it's a company car, again, that's going to be lower, and saving money has got to be a good thing. I don't know anyone that wants to spend more money than they really have to. So in here we've got a 6-speed manual. There is an option for a auto. I think it's around £1,300 or £1,400 extra, but the manual to me would be the option to go for. The gear change is light, it's very light. The clutch is quite light as well. Steering, it's nice for driving around town. It's quite well weighted. It's not heavy, but that's not really what you want when it comes to driving around a town, is it? You're trying to nip in and out of traffic, and this is perfect for that sort of thing. So let's park up here. Now this is the base model, so we've got parking sensors front and rear. We've also got a rear parking camera, so you can see that's just come on now. I've not actually parked this car before, so I may make a complete hash of it. There's a distinct possibility of that. It's always difficult, isn't it, when you first get a car. That's beeping away, that's not my heart rate. So that's not too bad, is it? So we've got in. There we go. That's it, nice and simple. So all those beeps and stuff mean I haven't reversed into anything. Now let's get going again. Ooh, there we go. And parking is very, very easy. Light steering, parking sensors, parking cameras. That's good. So now we're going to go and find some slightly faster roads. Head on to the A27, which is a dual carriageway, and we can see what this is like at higher speeds, see what the road noise is like, and that sort of thing. So I'll see you in a minute. We're now on to some faster dual carriageway roads, so let's see what the S-Cross is like at higher cruising speeds. I'm going to put on the active cruise control, and in order to do that you just press the cruise button. That will say, yep, I want to turn on cruise control. Hold down the set button and that will set the speed you want to travel at. I can see now I'm doing 62, so it will keep me at 62. Press the little plus button up to the national speed limit of 70. It goes up into the dash, and that's it. You may have noticed in the middle of this digital display here, it's just come up with a picture of the national speed limit. It's got traffic sign recognition, so whatever the speed of the road, it will put it in the middle there. Now, something that's happening at the moment is I've set it to be travelling at 70 miles an hour, but I'm only doing 55 miles an hour. The reason for that is the radar on the front of this car is monitoring that black car in front of me, and because it isn't doing 70 miles an hour, I'm not doing 70 miles an hour, and if that speeds up, I will speed up, and slows down, and I slow down. It's a very clever little feature. You can actually change the distance that you maintain behind the car in front of you. So there's a little picture of a car with a radar. So for example, if it's wet conditions or icy, you may want to leave a larger gap, and you can just press that and it's measured in like these bars, so you get 1, 2 or 3. 3 being the furthest. I'm going to put it on 2. Now that car's pulled over, the red car in front of me is going quicker, so I'm very nearly up at 70 miles an hour. When I actually do come to the back of it, I can indicate around it. It will then speed me up to 70, overtake the car, and that's it. So active cruise control for me is one of the best bits of tech that's been around. It's got to be a good 10 years or so, but the fact it's on this car as standard, and this is the base model, is definitely a good thing. Just makes your drive on motorways and dual carriageway just that much easier, that much more relaxing. I'm going to shut up for a minute and you can enjoy the silence, well, hopefully silence. I don't think that's too bad at all. It's a little bit of tyre noise, but nothing particular. The engine is very quiet. We're only sitting at under 2000 RPM, which is definitely a good thing, and it's just going along quietly, minding its own business. We've got some nicer back roads around here. How do we get on? Now it is quite a soft setup on this car, which has got benefits in terms of it irons out the bumps and things on normal roads, but it does mean it's a bit softer when pushing on. Now again, thinking about how you're going to be using it, well, how I'd be using it, I can't say how you guys would be using it, but I wouldn't be throwing it around country roads like this on a regular basis, well, at all. I'm driving down this road because I have to go somewhere down here, off to B Road Hunting Club. So I don't think it matters, as long as it's not too wallowy when you push it around a corner. There's a nice turn of speed with this electric motor helping out, and like I said, as long as it doesn't wallow and feel like you're on a boat, then that's not really a big problem. Picks up nicely. These bumps, I know it's a very bumpy road, but it's doing a good job. Yes, it is a bit soft, but you need to think about what you're using the car for. If you want a sports car, go and buy a sports car. It might not be quite as engaging as something like, say, a Tekka, But again, that's a better driver's car, but it's a bit firmer. So it really is horses for courses of what you want out of a car. Do you want great handling and a bit more engaging? You can go for one thing, but then you do suffer maybe a bit more of a firmer ride. Or do you want something that's a bit softer, like this, which isn't quite as exciting, but you're probably actually going to be more comfortable by the end of the journey. So, I don't know what you guys think. Put in the comments down below. Do you prefer more engaging but a bit bumpy, or do you prefer a softer, more chilled ride, but maybe not quite as exciting? I think for me, looks they're important. They're not the be all and end all when buying a new car, but you don't really want something that looks like a dog's dinner sitting on your driveway. And luckily with this new S-Cross, I think they've certainly improved the look of the car. To me, it's significantly different to the Mark II, and in a good way. Overall, it's a lot squarer. It's a lot more, say, SUV-like than any other model they had before. Big difference at the front. We've now got a huge grille here with a Suzuki badge and this aluminium trim running along the front. Everything about this car is more square. It looks a bit more rugged, and I really, really like it. It is so much better than the previous one. The other one wasn't really bad, but it was a bit, I don't know, it's a bit like Magnolia paint. It was just a bit normal and a bit sensible. But this, I think they've done a great job with the styling. Brand new lights in here. They're a lot thinner, a lot sleeker. LEDs, brand new fog lights on here. And just the overall front of this thing, I think, is a lot better. I don't know what you guys think. Put in the comments down below. Do you prefer the new look, or do you prefer the old one? From the side, it's not changed massively over the Mark II. The biggest difference really is going with that more square boxy feel of the car. We've got squared off wheel arches. The swage line now runs above the door handles into the brand new rear tail lights, aluminium reef bars and black privacy glass. 17-inch alloys as standard on this. And I've got to apologise, you've probably picked up, this car is absolutely filthy. It was valeted lovely at the dealership. I've driven it for an hour and I come here and it's absolutely covered. But to be honest, this is probably how most people's cars end up looking because it's winter and we're in Britain and it's always quite disgusting. But never mind, it doesn't really detract from the overall look of the car. I'd say it's smart. It's not groundbreaking, but I think it is definitely better than the Mark II. Suzuki have done an amazing job with the redesign of this car, and certainly look at the back of this. It is so much more modern than the previous generation. Brand new taillights really do help with that squared off feel. We've got this silver strip with the Suzuki badge in the middle here, wrapping around into the lights. The whole back design of this has been done again. It's a lot squarer, a lot more rugged. And we've got this section here in silver, but I like the look of the back of this car. It is definitely a big step up in terms of styling. Now, even though this is the base model, we have got reversing camera and reversing sensors. If you went for the top model, which is the Ultra, you get two cameras on wing mirrors, one on the front and this one on the back, and that gives you a 360 degree when parking. Very clever bit of tech that, but even so, you shouldn't have too much of a problem parking this car. So that's the look. I think it looks great. I think they've done a brilliant job, and it really does make a difference with the look of the car. But next, we're on to practicality. So the rear of the S-Cross in terms of the boot hasn't changed much from the Mark II. We've still got 440 litres of storage, 60-40 split, 660 litres once the seats go down, completely flat floor. There is this section here which lifts up and it gives you another probably 4 inches of storage if you needed it. Maybe if you've got taller items, it could be that you've got something valuable you want to hide underneath. So you've got that option. We've got hooks in here, tethering points, a light and a DC socket. So the back of here easily fit a couple of weeks shopping, one maybe two suitcases if you're going on holiday. Oh, that'd be nice because it's absolutely freezing here. So that's the boot size. Let's hop in the back. We'll see what the passenger space is like. So welcome to the back of the S-Cross. I'm 6 foot for some context. I've left the driver's seat where I was earlier, and I've got 2 or 3 inches above my head, probably got an inch between my knees and the back of the seat. It's no bigger than the previous S-Cross. I think this is basically identical in size, but it is ever so slightly bigger than the Vitara. 2 adults in the back here, as long as you're not much taller than 6 foot, and you'll be fine. Isofix on both sides, so you can easily get those child seats in here. Got a central armrest, a couple of cup holders, and that's about it. It's functional in the back of this car as opposed to having lots of gadgets and things like that. There's still no USB charging in the back, and I think that's a real shame. It always surprises me because what's it going to cost to put a USB port in there? Probably like £1 or something like that. So that's the only frustration in the back here, but overall it's actually quite comfortable. So yeah, it's good. That it's practical. So let's hop in the front, we'll have a look around some of that, and then we'll carry on driving. Let's get the car started up. We've got a start button over on the right, down by the steering wheel. That comes on, fires up the infotainment system, and all the dials come to life. Now I'm going to start with the infotainment system because this to me is the biggest change inside the new 2022 model. A lot of this is very, very familiar with the previous one, and some of this switch gear, or probably a lot of it, you'll find on the Vitara. But is that end of the world? No, probably not. But this touchscreen, this is the smaller one. Now what they've done with this, if you looked at the Mark II, this screen was actually integrated into this section here, and it was at the bottom with these air vents at the top. Now it's more of the stuck on tablet thing at the top here. It's okay. This is the base model, so you've got very little on here. It's just got the essentials. Now that might be a deal breaker for you, but for me it's certainly not, because it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto built in. All you have to do is plug your phone in. It is wired, unfortunately, and that's it, and then you've got access to all of that information on here. So to me, that's a good thing. But the rest of the cabin, it feels very familiar. Some of the materials are slightly harder wearing, slightly cheaper, but you're going to get that at this sort of price point. But it's very well put together. It does actually look quite smart, quite comfortable. I've enjoyed driving it while I've had it, so we're going to carry on the drive and go from there. So yeah, I'm going to pack up my kit and we'll head out back onto the road. We know what the car's like to drive, but what's it like behind the wheel from my point of view? Well, we'll start off with the seats. This Motion model comes with fabric seats. If you want leather, you need to go for the Ultra. They are pretty basic in here, but do the job. They are quite comfortable. There's a small amount of side bolstering so you don't roll around. Under thigh support is okay. Not many adjustments. You can slide the seat forwards and backwards and tilt the back, and that's about it. You can actually move the steering wheel in height as well, so you can get into a pretty good driving position. Onto the steering wheel. That's not bad either. Not too big, it feels quite comfortable. The controls are okay as well. Just need to get used to what these multifunctional buttons actually do, but generally over on the right, that's things for your cruise control. Over on the left are things for the stereo. Now the view up the front and the general visibility is really good. This being an SUV, obviously you sit higher up, good visibility out the front, and it gives you an elevated driving position. I like it. generally behind the wheel it's a nice place to be. It's very relaxing and actually quite comfortable. The main instrument binnacle is part analog, part digital. We've got a small TFT screen in the middle which you can show different bits of information from your trip computer, whether that's information on the power you're using, so that's using the battery, using the petrol, average fuel consumption, all of the normal sort of things you'd expect to see on there. To change that, there is a button over on the right hand side and you can press that and scroll through different bits of information if you really want to. Nicely clearly laid out and pretty simple to use. So for me, one of the most important things is how much is the car going to cost me? It's a boring question, but rather a vital one. So this model is 24,995, and on a finance PCP you're looking at around the 230, 240 pounds a month. So I don't think that's too bad at all. If you went up to the Ultra model, so that's the top of the range, you get things like four-wheel drive, bigger infotainment system, a few extra gadgets in there, leather seats, panoramic sunroof, and like I said, that's nearly £30,000. The question you need to ask yourself is, do you need those extra gadgets on the car? If you can live without four-wheel drive, then you can certainly save yourself a few pennies. I'd quite like the idea of a sunroof though, but even so, in here it feels quite light and airy. In terms of tyres, they're not going to cost you that much because they're only 17s on here, so you're looking at around 70, 80, maybe 90 pounds a corner. Good fuel consumption, so the overall cost of owning and running this car is not ridiculous. For a well-sized, well-specced family car, I think this should certainly be on your radar if you're looking for a new family car. Anyway guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you found it useful, interesting, hopefully exciting somewhere along the lines, and if you have, please give me a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome, and remember to click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.